Hello everyone, I'm Hannah Lloyd.
And I'm Charlotte Gilfillan.
Welcome to our podcast, Women in Wellies.
Each episode we will be inviting a guest to share their stories, experiences and lessons of working and living in rural Scotland.
We want to get to know the real women behind the Wellies and share them with you, our listeners.
Welcome to a very special bonus episode of Women in Wellies in honour of International Women's Day on the 8th of March.
This episode we have 6 inspiring women sharing who they are, a story of a woman who inspires them, and a key piece of advice for the next generation, alongside a little bit more about why we're doing the podcast. So one of the reasons we're doing this podcast is celebrating amazing women across rural Scotland, but for us it's a key thing about doing it together. Charlotte, do you want to share a little bit more of why we're doing it?
I think one of the most frustrating things is that society constantly pits women against women. And whether that's about their looks, whether that's about their family lives, whether that's about their careers, their life choices, it can be absolutely exhausting. But in reality, women benefit from collaboration over competition. And actually, women who support women are found to be much more successful in business and in life.
Which comes back to what we were saying in episode 1 about building a network and cultivating meaningful relationships and a support network around you, exactly like what you and I have created. We previously told the story of how Charlotte and I met and how we have gone on to support each other through periods of change in our lives when we were both new to a market, and that comes back to why we want to do this podcast together, because we like celebrating each other's success and the success of others. And Charlotte loves a little bit of shine theory.
Nice. So shine theory is a term coined by a writer called Anne Friedman, and it's built around the idea that if you surround yourself with successful women, you will in turn become successful yourself. And this is really by celebrating each other's successes and achievements in the spirit of collaboration rather than competition. And I love the phrase, I don't shine if you don't shine. And I think that's something that Hannah and I both prescribe to.
I'm all about shining together. Maybe we should have star costumes.
I'm cutting that bit out. As well as successes, there are also going to be challenges, which we've talked about quite a lot on this podcast already. Yes, it's going to be hard sometimes. Yes, you're probably going to want to give up at certain points, but your future is not always predetermined by your circumstances. And this is where it becomes so important that as women, we support and encourage each other, and that we also nurture ideas and ambitions and help women build their skills and the confidence to be able to deliver those, especially in the next generation.
Confidence is one of those topics that's going to come up so much on this podcast, because every guest is like pushing out their comfort zone, pushing beyond what they know, pushing beyond the kind of everyday for them, and having the confidence and the conviction to do that can be really, really challenging. But I think it comes back to what we just said, that encouraging each other, supporting each other to do that is what builds confidence, both to push beyond your comfort zone, but also try new things, grow your business, pursue goals, dreams, and be the best you can be.
I think that's also where positive role models come into this as well, and why we want to share these inspiring stories, because we want these stories to inspire others. And for me personally, if this podcast just helps one woman to achieve her dreams, achieve her goals, I would be absolutely over the moon, because that's what we're looking to set out to do. We want to be leading by example here. And there are some phenomenal role models out there that we can follow, women that have blazed a trail, and women that we can follow in our own paths, blazing our own trails.
Yeah, I think the power of sharing stories and the diversity of stories that we will bring on all the episodes of this podcast we've brought so far, in the few episodes that are out, but people we've already spoken to, people we've got lined up to come and share their stories, the variety of positive role models, the variety of like routes to get to where people are today is so inspiring. And yeah, like Charlotte said, if we can help one woman to do something that she wouldn't have done before, or to step beyond her comfort zone and try something new, and then it's all worth it. It's all worth doing.
On that note, we will now pass over to 6 fantastic women in rural Scotland to share who inspires them and why, as well as a key piece of advice for the next generation.
Hello there, my name is Emma Clark and I own and run Gleneagledale House on the island of Islay. Gleneagledale House is a 5-star gold award-winning luxury licensed guest house with self-catering attached. A woman that inspires me in rural Scotland has to be Emma McAllister Hall down in Torresdale Castle and Benanturrick Gin. So Emma McAllister Hall is a little bit wacky and wonderful, fun, but she's also really driven, and she has basically diversified her home and her business through sustainable use, but in order to hang on to their legacy that was their family home. So they've developed a gin school, self-catering, cafe, but all using local produce and the surrounding area to make it more natural uses. And she's so passionate, but she's kind. She's just uses all her natural landscape. She gets up early every morning and goes for a wild swim. Shares it with everyone. And I have to say, girls, she's got the funkiest pair of wellies you've ever seen. Our story started through sourdough, and she sent me some sourdough starter at the very, very start of lockdown in very ominous little white packets. One of the things that she's brilliant about is actually just being real and not afraid to say what she thinks and share, I'm having a tough day, I'm having a brilliant day, I'm having a moment, or just being really honest that sometimes it can be a little bit difficult, but sharing in the good moments too. There's no filter, which is something I would absolutely dream of doing, but having a 5-star guest house, it's not always possible. I know if I've got to, wondering how to cook something or wondering how to do something, wondering how to behave in a difficult moment, or even just needing a sounding block, she's there. It could be Facebook message, it can be a text, it can be a phone call, but it's just having somebody there who I've not met that often, but just to kind of go, okay, it's a safe space that I don't need to think about what I'm saying. But she actually just can come back and go, okay, that was tough, that was good, that's amazing. It can be about kids, business, but it's just having that person, and she's fantastic. So my advice for the next generation in rural Scotland has to be dream big, but be brave. And somebody said to me once, if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. So just be what you can be. And I have to also say, is just because it hasn't been done doesn't mean it can't be done. I think we're all used to being stuck in a box in rural Scotland and actually not always believing in ourselves. So dream big, be brave, and go for it.
Hello, I'm Ellen Eunson. I'm a solicitor at Shepherd and Wedderburn. I live in Orkney, which is where our family farms are, as well as Aberdeenshire. The woman that inspires me is Joanna Fubister, who lives in Ham, Orkney. She works at North Vet and also on her family farm. They have cattle, and Joanna has her own flock of sheep. Joanna inspires me because she's passionate about farming. She's dedicated and determined to succeed. She's got a hunger to learn, and she helps others grow and develop. Joanna's adventurous. She loves to travel and gain new experiences. She faces dilemmas and challenges with courage. She's trustworthy and honest and loyal to her friends. Joanna loves to party, she enjoys life, and she's grateful for her opportunities. My advice for the next generation of women in rural Scotland is to follow your dreams, get out there and get involved. You all have so much to offer.
Hello, I am Lucy Laidlaw, a communication, marketing and community engagement specialist working with land-based businesses across Scotland. I live in East Lothian with my husband and 2 crazy boys, and I also sit on the board of Scottish Land and Estates. A woman that inspires me is Jolie Brearley, who I hope some of your listeners have heard of. Jolie founded an organisation called Pregnant Then Screwed on International Women's Day back in 2015 after being fired by her employer when she told them she was pregnant. Pregnant Then Screwed is a charity challenging the motherhood penalty that sadly sees over 50,000 women a year in the UK forced out of the workplace after having kids. Jolie, like many of my friends, experienced maternity discrimination in the workplace and decided it was time to take a stand, not only addressing discrimination, but also the many other issues that face parents returning to work after having children, like lack of affordable and available childcare, very few flexible working opportunities, and alongside all of that, mummy guilt. Jolie has inspired me because not only has she tirelessly fought for women's rights, but she's also highlighted to politicians and senior business figures the hugely valuable contribution of women to the economy. It's a sad state of affairs that in conversation with most of my friends, they've almost all experienced challenges returning to work, having flexible working arrangements denied or being unable to secure childcare when they need it. It really shouldn't be this hard. Their experiences and Jolie's incredible commitment make me want to shout about how great my female friends and colleagues are, and make sure I'm doing what I can to support the parents I know going through the highly vulnerable return to work phase of their careers. This podcast is also a great platform for highlighting the awesome contribution of women to Scotland's rural economy, so thank you to you both as well for telling their stories. My advice for the next generation of women in rural Scotland is: treat yourself the way you treat others. If your friend or colleague has had a bad day or done something silly, you'd have their back, tell them that these things happen, that they're great at what they do, and that tomorrow is a new day. Yet when we do things wrong ourselves, we often dwell on it and torture ourselves for days. We're all human, and we deserve to treat ourselves with the same level of kindness we give to others.
Hello, I'm Michelle Bruce. I am part-time land agent for Bellingham in Aberdeen. I'm also running 700 breeding ewes on a farm, got a few sheepdogs, and we run Aberdeenshire Sheepdogs, where we provide training clinics and demonstrations as well. So a woman inspires me. I've got quite a few, obviously mother and other members of my family, but two rural women that I wanted to highlight are Joyce Campbell. You've obviously seen her on This Farming Life. She is an amazing person for rural life, agriculture, dogs. She's got fantastic sheep. I think she's a great supporter of women in agriculture. She's been on the task force, highlighted women in agriculture. I think she is just brilliant. And then also my friend Amy Reid. She is in Young Farmers. She sits on the Rural Agri Affairs Committee as well. And I think she's doing a lot for young people and next generation young farmers and getting people onto farm, engaging with them. She's also been on National Sheep Association Ambassadors Programme, so knows a lot about sheep and encouraging young people into young farmers and getting into the rural industry as well. When I was away at university, I struggled being away, and Amy and I kept each other going by our little mantra, which was short-term pain for long-term gain. So Amy has helped me stick it out at college to get my end goal, because she knew what I wanted to do, being a land agent. So she helped me stick that out. And Joyce, I was on the Be Your Best Self course, which was a Women in Agriculture funded course as well. And just listening to Joyce's story and the challenges that she's overcome, I've been able to listen to them and then put them into practice at home and just listen to her advice. My advice for the next generation of women in rural Scotland is to just go out there and do what you want to do. If you just go and do it. If you want to go and trial your dogs, go and do it. If you want to get into sheep farming, just go and do it. If you want, you can put your mind to it if you want to. So just go and do it. And don't let anyone stop you.
Hello, my name is Annabelle Wilson. I work in peatland restoration and have previously worked in various agricultural fields and equine industries across Australia, New Zealand and Scotland. A woman that inspires me is Jacinda Ardern, former New Zealand Prime Minister, not only because of her outstanding political decisions, but because of her endless devotion to ending gender bias and how eloquently she communicates her beliefs on the topic. Another woman that inspires me is Africa Brooke. She has a podcast called Beyond the Self, and she speaks about all the difficult topics that no one else wants to address, which gives others permission to use their voice and follow their own path. My advice for the next generation of women in rural Scotland is do what you want to do, not what you think others want you to do. Just to follow your own intuition and do what you feel is right for you, not necessarily what the construct of career choice should or could be.
Hello, my name is Sarah Jane Lane. I am the Chief Executive of Scottish Land and Estates. I'm also involved in lots of women in rural Scotland related groups, but probably more importantly, I am a woman living in rural Scotland, living on the family farm down the Scottish borders, wife to Gordon and mum to 3 amazing people who are now too old to call kids. A woman who inspires me is Nina Clancy. So normally I would go sort of worldwide, global, and say somebody like Mary Robinson or Jacinda Ardern, but let's look closer to home. Nina Clancy, former CEO of RSABI, known to most people in Scottish agriculture, a fellow Women in Agricultural Task Force member, and basically someone I'm proud to call a friend. I knew who Nina was, sort of looking back a kind of decade ago, knew who she was, knew what she did. But I went to one of the very first women in agriculture sort of events when it was just starting up, and Nina, was talking. And about 2 minutes in, honestly, I was like, "Wow, who is this woman, and how do I make her my friend?" That's how I felt. Honestly, if she'd gone into battle that afternoon, I'd have been right there with her, kind of charging out the door. She is generous with her time, her expertise, and she's focused on making a difference for the sector and for individuals within it. Always supporting and championing others. She's wise, she's funny, she's discreet, insightful, empathetic, supportive, with that innate drive. Basically everything that I think really matters, and lots of things that I'd really like to be. And she has that kind of, what I think is a kind of aura of a superstar, but without that huge ego that sometimes goes with fantastic leaders. And Nina just has that sort of inner light that draws people to her, and I think inspires others to be better versions of themselves. It's certainly what she does for me. And I love the fact that she'll listen to this and she'll shake her head and she'll be making a face because she'll hate to hear this, because she's just so blooming modest. When I met Nina, it was probably about the same time as I was going through the Windsor Leadership course, where I was quite focused on Scottish Land and Estates, focused on my job, my life, but I'd become in a sort of little bubble. So when I met Nina, it was the same time as I was going through this leadership course to think about the wider sectoral impact. So I think what she made me do was kind of think, how else can I turn up? How can I participate in groups? How can I work with others? So I think probably she just inspired me to be a little bit less selfish in terms of kind of how I was thinking about how I was turning up for rural Scotland. So that's probably the main thing, to think of others more. Is what Nina kind of inspires me to do, and to be myself. One thing, Nina's very authentic, and I think it's something that I value, and I always was. But I think probably in my early 40s, you start kind of looking around, thinking, am I doing the right thing? A little bit of self-doubt sometimes kind of creeps in as a woman round about that time. And Nina just kept inspiring me just to keep turning up as me, to be authentic. So those are probably the two things. Focus on others, be less selfish, and to just be yourself. So my advice for the next generation of women in rural Scotland is set your sights high and go for it. It's something I heard the other day. And the message was, you might not achieve everything, but you will achieve more. So, so just go for it. And I think, don't let self-doubt or thinking others are better hold you back. I was trying to think of an analogy, and the best one I can come up with is, there's room in the sky for millions of shining stars. So just get up there and shine away beside all the others.
Thank you so much to all our guests for joining us for today's bonus episode. If you want to connect with any of our guests on social media, you'll find their details in the show notes. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, follow us on Instagram @Women in Wellies Podcast to stay up to date with all the latest news.
And you can email us with any questions on womeninwelliespodcast@gmail.com, and we'd love it if you could leave us a review and subscribe so you never miss an episode.
Until next time.